and welcome to the Hen Productions podcast. For this week is the 19th of February 2026. I'm going to have a big sip of coffee because today we are discussing hotly new released film, one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Wuthering Heights. In apostrophes, I should say, in quotation marks, Wuthering Heights, directed by Emerald Fennel. This week's episode, we're going to just do a streamlined, speedier episode. There's no real news this week. There's no real second segment. We're just going to be discussing this film, rip right into it, and get you out of here in nice, quick succession. So let's tear into this movie. Now, it's a bit of a hotbed of discussion at the moment. I don't think I've had anybody ask me as much about a movie as people have been asking me about Wuthering Heights, my opinion on it. And it's kind of a long journey I take everybody on, but I'm going to take you guys on that journey because it's my choice and I can do what I want. That's the reason I have a podcast, and that's the reason you're listening to it. Anyway, so Emerald Fennel. Now, this director, she's been around, this writer-director, creative, she's been around in Hollywood for ages, working on shows like Killing Eve, and then she made, and won an Oscar for Promising Young Woman, an original screenplay starring Carey Mulligan, followed up by Saltburn, and Wuthering Heights is kind of the third in this trilogy of, let's say, confusingly maximalist films. This is very much an Emerald Fennel movie, and for better or worse, she's definitely carved herself out as a unique director and an icon director that people, even ones not obsessed with box office and directors like me, can appreciate and can look forward to. So I think some people expected what we got with Wuthering Heights here, but I know some certainly didn't. Now, let's pull back a little more. Emerald Fennel, I haven't liked a single one of her movies, unfortunately. This was the closest I came to really enjoying a movie because I think her maximalist style, her throwing everything at the wall, using metaphor as key storytelling. Best example in this movie is how she pans into a literal dollhouse and it feels like the whole movie is taking place kind of within a dollhouse, that this character is being trapped, very obvious kind of metaphors. But sometimes I like that, and I especially love the blending of styles between period settings and over-the-top music, visuals, choreography, just style. And this movie certainly brings that. So it has the best elements of someone like Baz Luhrmann or Sofia Coppola with their interpretations of historical fiction like Romeo and Juliet and Marie Antoinette, except those movies really stick the landing and also have a respect for what they're kind of talking about, whereas Fennel here doesn't feel like she really cares about Wuthering Heights apart from this perceived love story between the two characters. Now, I like Wuthering Heights, the book. It's a very interesting book, and I think you can do whatever you want with adaptation, so I don't have a problem with her deciding to kind of tear up the book and make it this epic, Sweeney, horny romance. But if you're gonna do it, you kind of have to commit to it and kind of feel like your narrative has a thrust. Especially for the people who have no idea what Wuthering Heights is or haven't read it. I saw this with two relatives, my mum and grandma, and a friend. And me and my friend, English nerds, both know the text in and out. And they didn't quite, and they really were surprised by what they saw on screen from such an old story. It's very horny, it's very erotically charged, but it never goes all the way. And this could be intentional. It might be the point of the film. The couple never truly gets to be together in the proper way, and so we don't get a satisfying romance or even satisfying on-screen sex scenes. I'm not looking for that. Look, that's not what... This doesn't need to be a fully, sexy movie. It can be whatever Emerald Fennel wants it to be. My only problem is I'm not quite sure what she's trying to deliver. Is she doing the very heavy-handed pop punk? This film is filled with Charlie XCX songs and sequences that feel like they're ripped straight out of music videos. It's this very heightened, stylized, and beautifully rendered vision of the era. I think production-wise, it may end up getting some Oscar nods just for its production design. You always see this with period movies. So it's not like this is a disaster. It's not a terrible film by any means. I think it's a movie that really just struggles to hit the landing and might really be up some people's alleys. It's certainly up my alley. And now I said we'd zoom back. Let's actually zoom back and talk about Promising Young Woman and Saltburn and what I feel was lacking in those movies, where I feel a lot of what the script was trying to say was being strangled by the script. Where Promising Young Woman is this movie about how the police don't believe us, how people don't believe women, how these terrible people go on in society, how cancel culture, it's a post-cancel culture movie about how it doesn't really exist and how it can't fix every problem. And then the script does a lot of things that kind of negate that. It talks about not believing women, and the lead character is constantly lying about being inebriated to prove a point. There's lots of contradictions within the text. I think her stylish trappings from the get-go were there. I think she was a well-established filmmaker with a keen eye, and she even has real witty, well-done dialogue at times. But ultimately, I just think her scripts are fighting herself. The same thing happens in Saltburn, where you're meant to feel... well, you're not sure what you're meant to feel for its main character. Is it sympathetic? Is it not? And by the time you get to the end of it, you kind of don't know what you've been watching. What's the point of what you've seen? And I feel that exact same way here by the end of Wuthering Heights. I think the first half is a lot more compelling. You have the excellent Martin Clunes playing the father here, and his performance is finally tuned in to what this movie is, which is... it is Shakespeare and Romeo. It's Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann before Wuthering Heights, without the respect for the source material. And unfortunately, her adaptation of the source material just doesn't stack up to what could be this luscious, beautiful, horny, epic version of this tale. I really just think she doesn't go far enough in what she's doing and ends up just pissing everybody kind of off. And that leads to my critiques of the performances, which I think both performers, Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, two actors I love, were just horribly miscast in roles that should have been played with people much more distinct grasps on the character. Both of them feel like they're doing impressions of these literary figures and don't feel in the moment. I think that's part of the movie's whole... I talked about it earlier, and it sounds gross to say, but it's like edging. This movie is very, very, very horny, and then it stops. It doesn't go all the way, and that's how they feel in their performances, whereas Martin Clune really lets off, and the brilliant... I need to look up her name, because she was brilliant. Who played Isabella? Alison Oliver. She's brilliant. Nellie, Hong Chow as Nellie, was an element I found strange to make her kind of a lead villain of the story. There's a lot of interesting changes here, and we could be talking about it like an adaptation, but it really is just amusing on this story that people kind of know. And ultimately, it ends up being quite a minor work, despite being luscious and beautifully made. I think it'll make a ton of money. It already has. It's at the top of the Australian box office with $4 million, right below it Crime 101, which I need to see, along with Whistle. That might be next week's episode. Whistle, Crime 101, and Pillion. Pretty fucking good episode, especially after this Wuthering Heights kind of disaster. Everything I've been saying, let's bring it all together. So you've got Wuthering Heights without the racial politics, without the classism, without any of that, without the backstory fully fleshed out. Instead, it's just a romance. That's okay. Horny interpretation of Wuthering Heights. All for it. Emerald Fennel knows how to make horny movies, evocative images, cummy bathwater. We all know this. But then the movie behaves like a cartoon. It looks like a cartoon, and it extends into these very cool musical sequences that feel completely out of place. It's not consistent, unlike a Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet or a Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. There's a consistent vision, and here it is all over the place. And very upsetting, because I quite wanted to like it. And for the first half, I really did. I think removing a lot of the subtext is part of the problem with the film too. I mentioned that the first half is a lot better than the second half. I believe that's just because there's more going on in the first half. There's more of a dynamic. There's more characters, more back and forth, and just more actually happening. When they've removed all the subtext, gutted the book of all its poignant subtext, and everything else going on, including the racial dynamics, class dynamics, everything going on in the book, you have a very empty movie. And the second half really doesn't go anywhere. It's pretty difficult to sit through. If I'm going to be honest, it's quite boring. And the other people I've talked to have kind of agreed. So it's a horny, kind of boring movie that doesn't really go all the way. Emerald Fennel, unfortunately, 3 strikes and is kind of out. I'll still watch everything she does because she's a distinct filmmaker that is going for something. She loves provoking people, and this is a provocative movie, and it's already making money. So I don't doubt that her next movie will be another stab at something weird, horny, and provocative. I just can't say I'm confident that it's going to be good because she hasn't been able to pull it off either in modern day, either in this, campy satire of rich people, or in a period setting based on famous literary IP. Let's face it, literary IP is what this is. Yeah. I hope she makes a movie I like in future. I think all movies are... do I like this one the best? I like it a lot more than Saltburn, probably less than Promising Young Woman. I just think that's a more skillfully made film in general. But no, I can't... I do... See, this could have been perfect, and that's what I'm fighting with. I love Marie Antoinette, and I love Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, and it just doesn't hit those heights. So that's a quick episode of just me complaining about a film adaptation that mostly old women will go to see. And that's the Hem Productions podcast for this week. Next week will be a much more feature-packed episode. This express episode is coming to you on the 19th of the 2nd, 2026. Have a good day, everybody.